Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which was launched in 2018 and now in its operational phase, is a landmark deal that aims to bring together 54 African countries with a combined population of more than 1 billion people and a combined GDP of over US $3 trillion. In July, Nigeria signed up to an African Continental Free Trade Area, a project to create a 3.4 trillion economic bloc, despite fears that Nigeria could be flooded with cheap goods from competitive neighbors. What role will marketing play to ensure Nigerian companies and their products maximize the benefit of this agreement? Tony Agenmonmen, President, National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria, now joins us from our Arise Abuja studio to discuss these and other issues. Good morning, Tony Agenmonmen. Welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
My brother, how are you?
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm tempted to say shine, Bobo, but I know you already moved beyond that. You are now president of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria. Well, tell us, what is the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria? What does it do? What is it all about? Because it looks like a new kid on the block, more or less.
Well, the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria is actually not a new kid on the block. Maybe we have become a little more visible in the past few years. It was established by an Act of Parliament in 2003, Act number 25, and it is the body that is responsible for controlling the marketing profession in Nigeria. And in doing so, we try to drive the professionalism of all our members to make sure that they are able to compete, not just as marketing professionals within the country, but also to be able to hold their own when it comes to marketing practice anywhere in the world. And of course, in the past few years, we had a little bit of challenges in terms of bringing our members together. But I can tell you, as we are now, we are very strong and we are ready and poised to contribute our quota to the development of our country. And that is why in the past few years, we have focused a lot in terms of the role of the profession in marketing Nigeria and marketing Nigerian non-oil products.
Thank you. So now let's talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Nigeria is a signatory to the agreement. As it kicks in, I think of the country of origin effect. Let's discuss that. And that sort of theory applies to the fact that the country where any product, service, or brand originates from affects its perception in the minds of the public and how receptive they are, the level of credibility they give, the status, the respect that they give. How can Nigeria position ourselves to really create a positive impression with goods, services, brands emanating from Nigeria?
I think the starting point is that we now know that the market is open. So it's not just a Nigerian affair of saying, okay, we can pass with anything. It means that Nigeria has to be really, really very innovative because whatever you produce here is going to compete with anything that is produced in other African countries like South Africa and the other developed part of Africa. So we have to expand our scope. We have to bring down the cost of production because, again, at the end of the day, it's about a free market. You are not going to say because of your peculiar challenges, your item is priced at X price, whereas other countries are able to produce it at a more cheaper price. And then, of course, the quality has to be very, very competitive. And for us to do that, we need the resources, both human and material. And especially our people have to be fully prepared for that.
Okay, and over the past 10 years, we certainly do have to be very innovative ahead of the Africa Free Trade Area Continental Agreement. But over the past 10 years as well, what would you say has been the most successful marketing tool that we have had in Nigeria? While some may say that digital marketing has been on the rise, others argue that traditional marketing still works best in this market, such as television ads or radio, to say more, etc. What would you say the pattern has been, and what is the most successful marketing tool that we have in Nigeria now and over the past 10 years?
Of course, the most profound development in the past 10 years has the digital media. And it's enriching, of course, with the advent of the internet, which has, if you like, democratized the marketing space. I think that is revolutionary. But the point I always make to people is that whereas social media and the new media has become very profound, the role of traditional media cannot, especially in Nigeria, because the reach of the new media, when you look at the vastness of our country, is still highly limited. But of course, it then depends on what kind of thing that you really want to market to your consumers. That would determine the approach you take. But most certainly, the impact of modern media is very profound, and it's something that has to be embraced if it's not already embraced. Any company that really, really want to touch the heart and soul of the modern consumer cannot afford not to embrace the new modern media.
Well, I like your reference to the fact about using marketing to promote Nigeria for development. And you know, of course, that over the years, we've had ministers of information who have been trying to promote Nigeria as a brand. I mean, the most recent, I recall, would be Proudly Nigerian, you know, under the Yaradua government. But, I mean, do you think Nigeria can actually be successfully marketed, considering all the challenges that we have at home? I mean, elections are a problem. We have kidnapping, we have terrorism, we have armed banditry in parts of the country, we have violence across the entire space. You as a marketer, I mean, how do you think you can brand Nigeria to sell it and make it a positive destination, either for investment or tourism?
Well, thank you, Ruben, for that question, because if you've been following the activities of the Institute in the past 2 years, I think we have deliberately focused on how we can actually market Nigeria, because we tend to talk about the negatives that pull us down. Yes, Nigeria has a lot of challenges. There's kidnapping, there is challenges with power and the rest of it. But I think beyond that, this country is blessed with so many things. We have our young men and women doing so well with Nollywood. We have our young men and women doing so much in music. In sports, we are doing very well. And we have, yes, even though the tourism potential in this country has not been fully developed, we have amazing places in this country that if they are fully explored and presented to the world, can actually turn around the image of the country. But we believe that a lot needs to be done because, yes, marketing the country is not just about running a campaign and saying, come to Nigeria or buy Nigeria or do something about Nigeria. We also have to prepare the grounds. And that's why we believe that it has to be a joint effort by both the government and the private sector in terms of developing all the potentials to market this country, because we believe that this country is great. We believe that the enormity of what we have far outweighs the negatives. In any case, if you look at all the countries in the world that has presented as major tourist destinations, they have their challenges. The problem is that we tend to highlight the negatives more than the positives of Nigeria. And we believe that as the professionals in the marketing, we can help jointly with the government to turn this around. Yes, we must solve our problems. There's no question about that. But we also have a lot of positive in Nigeria that we should be able to present to the world.
Absolutely. But I'd like to talk to you more about that global brand positioning. It's obviously not something that's going to happen overnight. Like Germany's reputation didn't happen overnight for, you know, engineering, precision, what have you. How long do you see it taking? What kind of strategy ought to be employed, and at what levels?
Well, like you rightly said, it's not a hop, step, jump approach. I mean, you're not going to rebrand your country in one day. Brand building is time-taking. You have to be persistent about it. But I think the starting point of rebranding Nigeria is that Nigerians must believe in Nigeria. We cannot continue to demarket our country internally and externally and expect the world to respect us. So we must try to bring out what are the strong points that this country have that we can present to the world. What are the tourism potentials? And then, of course, again, I will emphasize that you cannot market a bad product. Nigeria, as a country, the government, the people, we must take conscious effort to diminish those activities that tend to give us the wrong image. Of course, if we keep hearing terrorism being headlined every day, that does not help the effort to rebrand the country. If we keep hearing about kidnapping every day, that is not going to help to rebrand the country. So there has to be a conscious effort on the part of government and a part of everybody to reduce the negatives. Then we'll be in a stronger position to tell the world to come. And of course, the world will come. But besides that, like I said, every country has its own challenges. The US, they have their own challenges. South Africa, that people are, even Nigerians, want to go to every day. Johannesburg is probably one of the most dangerous cities in the world, but that is not highlighted. So we must consciously also make sure that we do not demarcate our country before the world. But it's not going to be it's not going to be a quick win. But most certainly, if we put our heads together as a people and as a nation, and we do the right things, the image of Nigeria can indeed be turned around. But this is going to be a collaboration. It's not a job for they. When I mean they, we sometimes talk of they as if the government is a completely different entity. It has to be a collaboration between the government, the private sector, and Nigerian citizens.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We are about to go on a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back to this conversation. But before we do, you mentioned that one has to focus on the blessings, one has to focus on the good things, and that's the reality of life. You can see the good and the bad in everything. So therefore, really and truly, anything can actually be marketed if it is done successfully. So when we come back from the break, I want to bring you up on the keys to successful marketing of Nigeria, and we'll discuss that in more extent. Do stay with us. We will be right back on The Morning Show. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on Horizon News, and we still have Mr. Tony Agenmonmen with us in our Abuja studios, the president of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria. Thank you for staying with us, sir. Before we went on a break, I had posed a question to you with regards to the keys to successful marketing, seeing as really and truly anything can actually be marketed if done in the right way.
Yes, thank you. I think you are correct. Of course, the fundamentals have to be right. Let's take tourism. If we want people to come to Nigeria, obviously we have potentials in terms of tourism in the nation. We have, of course, the Doba in Kano, for example. We have, we still have a little bit of the Granite Pyramid. We have Obodo Cattle Ranch. We have so many places that you can visit, but then, now, if somebody says he wants to come to visit Nigeria, to visit any of those destinations, the starting point is our airports. What kind of reception do they get at the airport? We need to fix it. Because when you're coming into Nigeria at any of our airports, it's not the most welcoming. And those are the first impressions that people get about your country. Then when they then come in terms of immigration, in terms of the roads, in terms of security, and now, if you now go to any of such destinations, what kind of hotel accommodations do they have? The staff in the hotel, are they trained to be able to receive people and welcome them properly, to tell them about the country that they are visiting, the environment that they are visiting? So it is important for us to get the basics right. It is like we have said in our communication last year when we had the conference, it is not about launching a campaign. It's about getting the fundamentals right. So if we really want to market this country, we must start the fundamentals of getting the basics. And this is not rocket science. We're not talking of spending trillions or millions in running a campaign. We're talking of getting our acts together. What exactly do we want to tell the world about our people? How do we want the world to perceive us as a people? I think those are the fundamental things that we need to start with. Once we get those basics right, then we can start actually talk about marketing Nigeria to the world.
Well, Tony, let me ask you a jam question. I mean, we hear of the Institute of Public Relations. We also hear about advertising, sales promotion, and now marketing. Now, what is the essential difference between sales promotion, marketing, brand management, or public relations? Or are they just different shades of the same activity?
Well, the reality of the fact is that all those that you have mentioned, there are some, if you like, some aspects of marketing. Marketing is all embracing. It actually encompasses public relations. Brand management, of course, is a core part of marketing. Marketing is actually anything you do to be able to convey the ideas you have or the product that you have to either, depending on what you're talking about, either the consumers or the respective public. So if you like, marketing is an umbrella body, but you have segments of it like communication, public relations, advertising, and the rest of it. I hope I passed the jam question.
Oh, yes, I think so.
So with regards to Nigeria and our standing when the free trade area kicks off, and just generally, with marketing, I always think of trying to establish a competitive advantage. What is our competitive advantage?
First of all, we have the people. So, I mean, you can't run away from that. We have the people. Therefore, we cannot run away from that. And if we're able to harness the resources that brings about and unleashing the creativity of Nigerians, we should be able to compete. Nollywood is doing a lot, even without the AfCFTA. We're doing very well in that area. We should be able to dominate more. Nigerian music is not just known in Nigeria alone or Africa, it's known all over the world. We should be able to have on that. And then, of course, if you now go into the agricultural sector, which is currently growing, and I'm happy that we're focusing on feeding ourselves. By the time we're able to feed ourselves, we should be able to feed the rest of Africa. I think we can focus on those. And then, of course, manufacturing sector. That is an area that we really need to focus on strongly. But a lot of infrastructural development need to happen in that area for us to be able to be competitive. Because right now, it is still very, very expensive to produce any item in our country. For us to be fully competitive, we need to drive down the cost of production. Because if you have to power your production through your private generator for 24 hours, it's definitely not going to be able to compete with an economy that is supplied with public electricity.
I'd like to add tourism to your list as well, sir. If we take 2017 in Lagos State, for example, it was reported that Lagos State managed to generate 800 billion naira from tourism alone. And we can see that we have a growing tourism industry. Now, while we know the shortcomings that we have when it comes to our tourism industry, such as infrastructure across the country, etc., there are also ways in which we can start to market our tourism industry in a much better and stronger way and really tap into it. There are countries in West Africa that are doing it and really getting it right now, like Ghana, for example. How do you think we're faring when it comes to our tourism industry or tourism sector? Do you think we're doing enough? Do you think we're marketing it in the right way? Or do you think we're marketing it as much as we can, should I say?
Obviously, when you talk about how much was generated in Lagos, that's peanuts compared to what Lagos alone can generate in terms of tourism. I mean, if you go around the economies of the world, there are a lot of countries that depend substantially on tourism to generate their income. So when you look at Lagos and you look at Nigeria, what we can get from tourism alone, if we develop it substantially, is enough to run a whole economy. But like I said, are we prepared for it? Is the infrastructure right? Because tourists are not going to go to a destination where they are not going to have exactly what they are looking for. First of all, they need security, and we need, so it's very important that we fix our security today. All the infrastructure, I mean, you come to Lagos as today, there's a lot of hold up in the traffic. You don't want to come to Lagos for 2 days and you spend half of the time in traffic. So those basic things, if we're able to fix them, because tourists have a way of circulating their experiences in any place that they've been to, especially with the impact of the social media. Somebody is visiting Lagos and is posting pictures of what he's seeing, hold up here, and experience in hotels and the rest of it. So we need to fix all those things, and I can tell you, if we fix it, the economy of Lagos, if we're talking to Lagos as a reference point now, will boom in terms of tourism alone. So there's a lot to be done. Like I said, it's not just about running a campaign. Campaigns will come and to talk about the enormous beauty of Lagos, but we must fix the fundamentals, and that's very important.
Well, Tony, let me take you back to the JAM question. The way you responded to the question, you made it seem as if every one of us is basically a marketer. Because if PR is involved, brand promotion is involved, brand management, sales promotion, I mean, every one of us is selling something at one level or the other. But to join the Institute of Marketing for the benefit of viewers listening to you, particularly in Nigeria, do you have a set of criteria, or just anybody can enroll and join the Institute of Marketing of Nigeria?
Thank you. Just to support what you've said, basically, all of us are marketing people, whether at home or in your private office or in government and the rest of it. What we are doing now, for example, is doing some aspect of marketing. Now, in terms of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria, to be a member, then you have to be a full marketing professional. So if you are in the university, you can be reading any course, it doesn't matter, but you can enroll as a student member of the institute. Then you pass through a series of exams, and by the time you are fully qualified, then you become a chartered marketer. But since we have become a little more prominent, what we have done so also is that a lot of people who are out there who are currently practicing marketing but who are not registered with the institute, we have created a window of opportunity or accelerated program for them to join the institute. It does depend on the level of training you currently have and the level of experience you have. For example, at the level of a marketing director of an organization, if you are not currently registered, we will not stress you. All we want you to come in and register. But if you are just a junior brand manager that is just starting, then you need to go through a few courses with us, and then once you have passed through those programs, then you are fully qualified to be chartered. And we actually are trying to drive the compliance with the Act, which mandates that all people who are practicing marketing in Nigeria are to be registered with the Institute so that they can be properly certified as professionals.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's talk about digital marketing as we round up the conversation. That's obviously a growing field. How do you regulate that area?
Well, I think that is very topical now, regulating digital marketing space. It's a challenge to every part of the world. I mean, because sitting in your bedroom or anywhere, even in your car, you can be on the internet to push out anything you want to do. It's difficult, but it's something that has to be done, because at the end of the day, yes, for me, it's not about whether there should be some form of control. I think it's about what kind of control. Control that we make sure that everything is slightly organized, not control that to make sure that people do not have the right to propagate any kind of information that they want to propagate. I support the freedom to expression on the social media, but I believe that that also requires a measure of control.
Thank you, sir, for all your perspectives this morning and for joining us.